Hey, Honors Physics, let's take a look at electrical potential energy. You have been experimentally investigating how it looks in an electric field, but let's do some theory behind potential energy. And you might say, oh, we're pretty good at that already, right? Because we've studied gravitational potential energy this fall. Well, this new kind of potential energy is actually very similar. And what do they have in common? Well, all potential energy, in particular electrical potential energy, is a property of a pair of objects. That sounds weird. Why do you have to have a pair? Well, you have to have one object that creates a field. One creates the field. And the second object is responding to that field. And you'll see what I mean when I describe that in a little more detail and we do an analogy, right? So the two objects, property of the pair of objects, right, and their positions. So let's go into that. Let's go to gravitational potential energy. You were an expert on this. At the midterm exam time, you knew that gravitational potential energy, its formula is simply mgh. But what causes gravitational potential energy? Well, you have a source. It's a large mass, typically a planet, a star, a black hole, if you will, anything that has significant mass. And you then put a small sample mass, a human body, a rock, anything falling or moving in that gravitational field. And because it is near Earth, it has potential energy. Now, it depends on where it is, though. There is, of course, only one direction to this attraction. Okay, so the way it works, right, is that here is the source. And the higher up you lift it, right, here's the source mass. And the higher up you lift it, if you lift it to the top of this hill, right, it has a load of potential energy. Huge amounts of gravitational potential energy. Why? Because our height is greatest. And the field, right, is g. That's the direction of the acceleration. That's the direction of the force, because the forces and accelerations go together. But it's also the direction of the field. So if that mass is unsupported, if it were to precariously kind of roll off the edge of that hill, it would lose its potential energy. It would build up kinetic energy. And of course, we know energy isn't destroyed, but it would be about basically, where is it in the field? Is it high up or is it low down? So the gravitational potential energy is really a measure of what position causes the object, right, to be at its highest. And since the G field is here, and the force of gravity kind of goes in this direction, then, I'm going to grab a slightly larger pen here, that if you take a mass and put it on this side of the G field, basically away from the source, right, up here, it seems to store energy. Now, how did you get it there? Someone had to push it against the the gravitational field or the force of gravity. So think about going to the gym and you're climbing stairs, you're lifting weights. Every time you take a mass and push it against the gravitational field, you're putting potential energy in. And then you control its descent. Maybe it's your body weight, maybe it's a barbell, maybe it's a dumbbell, whatever it might be. So does it work the same for electric fields? And it does. So there still has to be two charges, two objects, a pair. And one of them is called, of course, a source charge. That's a large Q. And whenever a sample charge is being moved above or below it or inside that, near that source charge, right, you are, of course, inside an electric field. Okay. Now, the interaction is different. Up with gravity, don't we agree that when you put a mass into a gravity field, it always attracts? Well, it really depends on the sign of the charge. It can attract or it can repel. Sometimes positives go one way and electrons go the other way. And similarly, electrical potential energy is again at its greatest, right, when it's in a position that takes the most energy to stay there. Okay, so let's kind of talk about this. And I'm not going to draw it vertically. We're going to talk about an E field generically. So there's an E field. Now, if I push a positive charge and I put it here, but I have to work to put it there, because we all know that a positive charge would want to be pushed with the E field, right? Oops, not FG, guys, FE. Wouldn't it go the same direction or with the E field? But if I hold it here or I push it here, it's kind of like lifting a mass against gravity up here. So the direction of the E field doesn't matter. It could be any direction you want. But when a positive charge is at the tail end of the E field, basically, this side, it has incredibly high potential energy, because that is not its normal position. It wants to fly to the right. Now, where would an electron have high potential energy? Well, it would be on the other side, okay? Now, what if I let the positive go and it flies all the way over here, right? It has moved. Well, now this is the side with low electrical potential energy. And how did that happen? It happened because we let it go and it moved, and that's its natural tendency. So it's kind of like letting a rock fall. So the default high potential energy for an electric field, right, for a positive charge, right, is near the positive end, right, or so to speak, with respect to the source of the E field, right, the E field. Okay. Now, we didn't draw in the source. These are both right here. These are both sample charges or test charges, but something created this E field, and it's probably a positive charge over here. Now, if you want to connect this to the lab, remember some of us had metal plates, and one side was negative and one side was positive. I'm going to use red for that. And we discovered that the side that has high energy, the 8 volts is over here, right? High potential energy. And this side has low potential energy. Okay, so this little scenario is really kind of talking about, can you see where it has high energy and low, right? So see the little stick figures? If you push a positive near a positive source, you have to do a lot of work. And the work you do is stored as potential energy. Whereas, how hard does it take to hold a positive charge far away? Well, that's low potential energy. And if you were to map out the electric fields, right, they would be going to the right on the right side. They'd be going to the left on the left side, because remember, E fields always point away from sources. And you can read the other details around there. So the potential energy is greatest, I'm going to do a little bold here, is always greatest at the place where it is hardest to get to, where it would be against, right, the force created by the field. An electric field is highest at the positive end. Why? Because the convention is all about positive charges. Now, some of you might realize that's not what electricity is actually made of. Maybe you've heard that electricity is electrons, but the convention, the original thinking developed over 200 years ago, was that it was based on positive charges. So positive end is high energy. Without putting in any energy to keep the charge in position, the charge will move or flow toward the low energy position. So positives move from the positive side toward the negative side. Let's go to 19. Okay, which end of an electric field is high potential energy, right? That's the positive end of the field, right? The place where the E field starts. So that's like the tail, right? So where would be the high potential energy or high energy? Close by, right? And in a parallel plates, it's easiest to see. We've got high potential energy here near this end. We'd have low potential energy here. So high, PE, and low. And there's a few questions over on the side. What happens to the test charge if you let it go, right? It flows, it moves toward the negatives. And that is just like rolling downhill for a mass in a gravity field. Okay, now let's see if we put a positive test charge here in the current position, right? Is it still rolling downhill? Yes. What about a negative charge in this E field? What if you put a negative on this end? Now, we didn't talk much about negatives, but which way would a negative get pushed in an E field? It would get pushed against the E field. So believe it or not, an electron that's close to negative this electron has high potential energy here. And I bet you think that's confusing because we said that the high potential energy was near the positive, but that's for a positive charge, right? The convention. But electrons have high potential energy at the other side. So if you let a negative go and it flowed to the top of that field, that would also be like rolling downhill. Okay, so who has the greatest potential energy of all of these positions? And you say, well, what are their charges? The convention is to describe it for a positive. Let's pretend M, N, O, and P are all positive. And as it turns out, M and P have the same voltage. They're the same distance away. They're the same position in the electric field. Remember, the electric field goes from positive to negative. And then N goes next, and O is the lowest. Okay? So we've got greatest M and P, and then we've got N is greater than O. It says to use greater than or less than signs. But if you rank them from greatest to least, it's kind of obvious. Okay. Now, quantitatively, there's a name for energy in an electric field, and it's called electrical potential. Okay? But the modern name for that is voltage. Voltage. So V is the amount of energy per charge. And the units for voltage are the volt. This is very small, so I'm going to zoom in. Volt. The unit for potential energy, well, wait a minute. All energies are measured in joules. And the unit for charge is, of course, coulombs. So what we have here is we have a ratio of how much energy per charge, and that's what volts are. So voltage is very much related to energy. It's proportional to the energy, but it really, I'm going to neaten this up while I'm here. But it's really a little bit more subtle than that. It's how much energy is carried by the electrons or the protons that are moving in an electric field. Okay, a little neater. Okay, so let's kind of do a sample problem. 2 coulombs of charge are placed in an electric field, and the position gives them 6 joules of energy. Very concrete. So the Q is equal to 2. The potential energy is equal to 6. What would be the voltage rating at that position in the E field? And of course, it's PE over charge, or 6 over 2, and that would be 3 volts. Okay, it's integers, not really sig figs, so it's a simple ratio. A 4 coulomb charge is placed, I'm already moving to number 2, into parallel plates, and it's at the place that is 10 volts. You know what that looks like. That would be very close to the positive terminal of our electric field, because ours was 12 volts, right, at the highest, at the positive end. So what's the potential energy? Let's rearrange our formula. The potential energy is equal to voltage times charge, or 10 volts times 4 coulombs, or 40 joules of energy. Now, if you don't remember, 4 coulombs of charge is actually a lot. We often dealt with microcoulombs, so if you can pile 4 coulombs of charge at the 10 volt point, you're going to have a significant amount of energy, 40 joules, okay? There's a few more. I'd like you to try these. Some of them are qualitative, and some of them are related to lab. Draw the equipotential, the places where the voltage is the same in these fields, and you should have experience with plates, should have experience with charges, but then what about when there's combined ones? And one of the rules you might remember from lab is that the equipotential lines, equipotential, and by the way, that's just a fancy word for same voltage. Same, potential having to do with voltage. Equipotential lines are perpendicular to the E fields. So this would be an equipotential line because I drew a line that goes perpendicular to all of those E field lines. Out here, it would look like this. Over here, it would look like this, okay? And at some point, they would actually overlap, perhaps. This one would have a flat side, so it would kind of be like a reverse capital D, okay? So those are some challenge ones. Maybe you tried it before I even did it, okay? There's a thinking question at the bottom of 20. Page 21 is a little more continuation. I'd like you to try each of these. They're pretty straightforward. But one thing I'd like you to focus on, and I'm going to actually kind of jump you there right now. Let's get rid of those straight lines, is I'd like you to take a look at this one. It's not really a problem. And here's where we're going to wrap up. So let's now talk about electric fields and circuits, a preview of where we're going. So a battery has a positive side and a negative side. Is there an electric field inside the battery? There very much is. But there's also an E field that follows the wire of the circuit. And remember, E fields go from the positive to the negative. And in this case, they go right. Okay. And so wait a minute. Let's think about this. If you put a positive charge in this circuit, where would its high potential end be? Okay, well, it would have high potential here or high voltage close to the positive terminal, and that's position A. And when it moves through the wire from A to B, it does not lose any of its electrical potential energy. And you might say, that's really surprising. I thought it had to do with position in the E field. But we're going to find out that the only place that you lose electrical potential energy is when you go through something called a load. A load can be a light bulb, it can be a motor, it could be a speaker. It's anything that takes energy from the battery and turns it into something useful. A light, a sound, or maybe even heat on a winter day, right? We have things that warm us up using electricity. And so now we have a large drop, right? A negative delta V from B to C. And that's when it goes through the. Then we're going to use blue. By the time it gets to C, it's now at 0 volts. And it goes back, right, to low voltage. And something we haven't heard yet, but essentially in a circuit, when it starts at the battery, at the positive terminal, when it circulates, when the current flows, it always comes back with no energy left or no voltage left. So it's at 0 volts. Now, what's the high voltage? Well, it's whatever the battery or the power supply is rated at. And a typical battery is 1.5 volts. That's an AA, a AAA, a C, a D, etc. Okay? And why is it moving? Why are the charges moving in the wire? Well, it's being pushed by the E field, but along the way, there's a significant change in the voltage. Remember, if you let a proton flow in parallel plates, I bet all of you would have no trouble telling me that if this plate is at 1.5 volts, right, and there's a positive here, by the time it gets to the negative terminal, it has low voltage, 0 volts, right, and as it moved through the E field. And that's essentially what a circuit does. So that's a good place to wrap up. There is a little bit more to do, a few extra practice problems. Those are going to be assigned in your problem set portfolio. So thanks for watching.